Patreon, going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episodes once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show of yesteryear. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there, so you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man with 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/realityt times 2, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on another tier, if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/realityt times 2. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/realityt times 2. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be doing Temptation Island. So let's head into it, episode 4 of Temptation Island. So we left off with seeing Jack and Carter in the confessional kissing, or we don't actually see them kissing, but you know what I mean. So no one is shocked that Jack is the first one who broke, which says a lot. But in confessional, he says that, she's a good kisser, but she's not as good as Cheyenne. Then, what? Okay. So what is interesting here is Jack says, a year or 2 into their relationship, she went out, she got drunk, she kissed some guy that she used to talk to in the past. I find that quite interesting, because it would have been before he cheated, is what I'm understanding. So he's kind of questioning, why am I taking the brunt of the blame? Which is true in the sense of, she's all about he cheated. Now, he went all the way and he acknowledges that. Where for her, it was just a kiss. But at the end of the day, cheating is cheating is cheating. Whether you're emotionally cheating, you online cheating, you kiss somebody, or you go all the way and you have sex with somebody. Cheating is cheating is cheating. So she technically is the one who cheated first in this relationship. Then, you know what I mean? It's a double standard in that sense. I'm not saying 2 wrongs make a right, which I'm going to get to a little bit later on in the season, but still, you know what I mean? Anyway, Mark is telling the groups that we're going to be doing a group outing. Probably not going to be talking much about each of these outings, but anyways, actually maybe not at all, because there's not much to really talk about in these outings. So after them though, Xavier and Sydney sneak off to have some alone time. She gives him some letters to read, and they're about him, so that's cute. Jack then asks Carter, "You want to go to bed?" So it's what, day 2, day 3? I don't even know. And he's already inviting her to bed. She says sure. We hear her say, I'm in bed with a man who has a girlfriend, but that's the journey. He's like, well, it's kind of fun. Like he's not clearly taking this seriously. Where it's just like I think he just wants to shit on her. It's kind of fucked up. Anyways, the next day, Mark is here to say that they have another bonfire they're going to be doing. So we're heading into the bonfires. The men are first. Jack is first up. So we see her in the clips that they have for him. We see her saying, we aren't happy. Clearly, she says, I don't trust him. Duh. The relationship is toxic. Yeah, we've seen that. And her saying that I don't have to worry about Jack and I am having a good time, I believe. So we see that he's not shocked by what she's saying. He agrees, he agrees though that they are not happy in the relationship, which is why I'm wondering if are you just here to blow it up? Cole is up next. We see her saying, I just want him to be open. And then her saying to Bradley, you get me. And see, the thing with me when it comes to Scarlett, which, y'all, I'm not going to say it here because I didn't discover it, but Scarlett was also on a reality television show. And it is brought up in the reunion episode, the first episode. So I'm going to save it there because I do know what show it is for those people who may have not seen the reunion yet, or don't even know there's a reunion. I'll talk about it there. But when I heard her say what show she's on or was on, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I remember her. So we'll do some exploring when we get to that episode. But besides, I don't remember if I liked her in the show that she was on, but here I didn't like her because I'm like, girl, you have a great guy here who isn't doing nearly the shit these other guys are doing. And you're just like, because he's not giving you what you think you want, which is someone who is spiritually depth or whatever. It's so dumb. But anyways, he says her being half in and half out was before lies because he's saying she's kind of half in, half out, I guess. They broke up and then and and he's like, maybe that's why I was lying. It was out of fear, which that does come back again later. So I do think that's potentially what's going on here. The Mikey is up next. We know how bad this is going to be for him, how things were going with Sydney and Xavier. The guys are like, holy shit, and in their actions, basically. But Mikey says, she looks beautiful. But nothing in that makes me comfortable. If that is her guy, then great. If it's not with me, I have to be okay with that. But if we recall in the first bonfire, my guy was bawling. And now he's being all cool, calm, and collected. It's weird. Marcus honestly, I feel like you're not feeling anything. And he says, I grew up with a mother who said, don't want no one who doesn't, which fair. But my guy, you were bawling your eyes out 2 seconds ago. And will bawl his eyes out as they dip out of the bonfire. So he's not fully feeling his feelings here. Some minutes next, we see Kaylee saying, I just want him to be a fucking good boyfriend. And Zach saying, when is the breaking point for you? When is enough enough? And he says, he says, I don't know what I am doing to make her feel this way. Well, she's telling us, and you're hearing it at the bonfire. We know what you're doing and what you're saying to make her feel that way. He says, I don't know what, I said that already. He goes into, my independence. Maybe I'm not ready for something serious. Maybe not. Maybe you're not ready for something serious. But it still doesn't change the fact that you're saying a lot of shitty things to her. And he's like, oh shit, I didn't think, or sorry, Mark says maybe not. And this was actually very funny. You kind of saw his personality here. Submit's like, oh shit, I didn't think you were going to say that. And Mark asks, talk to me about relationships in your life. He talks about being raised by a single parent, his mom, and having no relationship with his father. And Mark says, "You wouldn't say to your mom, 'I wish you were like this mom or like that mom.'" And he's like, "Oh, no, no way, not at all." It's okay. So if you wouldn't do that with your mom, why do that with Kaylee? Because that is what you're doing with her. And I think that was a perfect way for him to understand um, the gravity of the things that he's saying is picturing if he were to say something like that to his mother, or if someone were to say something like that to his mother, and how crushing that would have been for him as her child. So I think that was a really great analogy. Bonfire's over. And guess what? When they get back to Temptation Haven, or the, or sorry, when they get back, Temptation Haven is going to be back. The tent is back, y'all. We'll talk about the Temptation Haven a little later. Mikey is showing how he truly feels about Sydney, as I said before. Possibly moving on. He's breaking down here. He can't even get words out. He just thought that she loved him more than that. It's only been a week, y'all. So open our next. Scarlett is first. And we see Cole saying, she needs to come to terms with the past. Put your guard down and let me be free. It would be better. Fair enough. I think those are all fair things. And we need to clean up these trust issues. Again, all fair things. However, she says it's hard to let go of those things when those things only happened a week ago. Okay, well, but then it's hard for me to decide we're cool on that. Because again, like, it's not like he's cheating, but lying is still lying, and that sucks. So, why do you feel the constant need to lie? Um, and he said to her that I was going to lie, that he was going to go to the track with his friends. But it turned out some girl asked him to go. Like, it was weird. Like, it was still a friend, but I guess it was like a different person than who she thought it was going to be. She says, "No, I should go into the track. Don't care. But I shouldn't have to dig to get answers." And she says, "He may not check all of the boxes, but," and you know what? I don't know if someone needs to check off all your boxes. I think we need to throw the list away for sometimes. I think as long as you get what is your basic needs, and that is different for each person, then I think you can work on everything else. Well, Mark says, newsflash, there are people out there who can check all your boxes. That's what Mark says. I disagree. I don't think there's any one person who could check off all your boxes. It's impossible. Um, Otherwise, if that was the case, the show wouldn't exist. Anyways, we move on to Cheyenne, and we see Carter asking him if their connection scares him, and saying like he can be himself with Carter, them in the pool, and then them kissing in the confessional room. Them going to bed together, and it's definitely implied that sex could have happened. I do not think he actually had sex with anybody here. I think it close with Jasenia. Sorry, spoiler alert. But I don't think he actually had sex with anybody while on this journey. But yeah. Cheyenne, she's freaking out. She's like, I'm giving this man so much time to redeem himself. 5 years for him to publicly humiliate me. He did this knowing I would see this. True. I'm leaving. She's getting the fuck out of Dodge. She gets up and she's like, "Is this real life? Is this real life? Is this real fucking life?" Kid you not? You know what it reminded me of? It literally reminded me of Jennifer Love Hewitt and I know she did last summer saying, "What do you want? I'm right here. What do you want from me, huh?" You know what I mean? It can literally remind me of that. Anyways, that is Temptation Island episode 4. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll jump in with episode 5. Hi, everyone. So, I have a new product for you to partake in, one that I'm going to share with you, and that is Be Believe. So, Be Believe in the power of playful learning. So dive into the world of wonder with Be Believe's rich collection of animations, catchy songs, playful coloring pages, hands-on activity sheets, and engaging ebooks. Each element is thoughtfully crafted to captivate young minds while reinforcing positive behaviors in a fun and meaningful way. Whether your little one is watching a magical adventure, singing along, coloring their favorite character, or reading an enchanting tale, every moment is packed with joy, learning, and imagination. So if you go to our unique code, or link in order to not only support Be Believe, but also support the podcast, you can head to be-believe.com/reality2. So that's www.believe.com/reality2. So that is REALITEATWO. And the link is also in the show notes where you can also link to that. So head on over to Be Believe with our unique code link, and you can unleash good behavior through enchanting tales, where imagination and good behavior unite. Thank you, Be Believe, for supporting this podcast. Now, back to the show. And I am back. So, episode 5. Scarlett says, because as we left off, we know where we left off, right? We just did it a few minutes ago. Anyway, Scarlett says, he's a piece of shit. True. Everyone feels bad for Cheyenne. And Mark goes to her and says, I would love to speak to you about it. Please don't leave. And she's like, I hate this man. That's how she feels about it, y'all. He's like, well, that can't be true. Otherwise, it wouldn't hurt this much. And that is also true. We react, is depending on how we react, shows the level of hurt that you're in, right? So, love isn't real, she says. And I'm like, well, she's not, I can't say that because I obviously am a person who's in love, but I mean, sometimes you wonder. She's like, he's a fucking loser. He's a fucking bum. Huh. You know what, yo? I'm gonna ask you. This might be a big task for me to ask of you. But I'm gonna ask of you to hold on to that till the end of the season. Because this guy, she comes back around. She's like, I cannot stand this man. Next. Thank you. Next is what she's trying to say. I hope she enjoys her 30 seconds of nothing. Goddamn. So I guess that's knocking his sex, I guess. Okay. Mark says, to me, the words you are using sounds like there is a bigger issue. And she says, I don't know how to live my life without him. And she says, I hate him. And Kaylee is like, you don't need him. And it's true. She doesn't. No one ever needs the person that they're with. Get to a point of where you want the person that you have in your life. Not need. It never should be a need. Because I got this. I don't know if this isn't news to anybody, but I learned this in high school and religion class, actually. I had a great religion teacher in grade 10, and he definitely laid out a lot of philosophy, a lot of food for thought as 15, 16-year-olds. And he would say, never need another person. The things you need, air, sunlight, food, those are things you need. Heck, I might even argue sex, or not even sex, but human connection. That is something as humans we need. But you should only ever want a person. Wants is like I want a car or I want $1 million. You can still live without the wants in your life. And I think that was such an important message that was given to me as a 15, 16-year old. Um, and for anyone who would have taken his class um, in grade 10. And yeah, pretty sure I heard he's passed away now, which he was pivotal for my high school experience. But yeah, like you never ever need another person. That's when toxicity rolls in. Um, so she says, he better not sit next to me at the final bonfire. I will go to jail. That was a great line. We move on to Sydney. We see the yoga date with Mikey in India. And I mean, that's basically it. It wasn't bad, really. There wasn't much bad to see here. And she says, I'm happy he found a connection that he can explore. I hate that I wasn't enough and I wasn't the one, but I know I am enough. And Mark says, when a clip doesn't hurt you, you're truly free. And you could tell by this bonfire, by the second bonfire, it wasn't hurting her. If anything, it was what he was seeing was hurting him. Kaylee's next. And we see some men at the yoga date as well, staring at, I think it was Jasenia, staring at her ass, holding hands, saying she's mysterious. Mysterious is cool, but whatever. And then we see him kissing Jasenia. She says, I don't know what to say because I don't think I have all of the answers. That was a great, great thing to say. Um, because no, you aren't getting all of the answers in any of these clips. But she says, I don't think he is thinking about me at all when he is doing that. He should be digging deep. It looks like he is having fun, which there's nothing wrong with having fun, but I see what she's saying. Mark says, maybe he is discovering what he wants. And she says, he went after the girl I knew he would. And again, that's kind of like the insecurity part. And the kind of thing that he's put into her mind that I'm not his usual type. I'm not the one he would go for. I'm not this. I'm not that. But that girl is, it's really sad. Oh, yes, the Temptation Haven is available now. We talked about it in the first half. So let the drama begin. So if anyone doesn't remember how the Temptation Haven works, basically how the Temptation Haven works is they get to go into these tents if they so choose with somebody, and there's no cameras, there's no nothing. All we have is audio. That is it. That is how the Temptation Haven works. And there's this part, forgot this part. If someone from the villa goes into the Temptation Haven, a red light will flash at the other villa to indicate someone's in the villa or in the haven. Don't know who it is, but someone's in there. So this is going to be an interesting situation with the haven. Cheyenne says, I have done everything I can to keep him in my life, but isn't that exhausting? Like, really, isn't that exhausting? To constantly want to fight, to have someone in your life who isn't trying to fight for you in the same way. And I come from a place where I know exactly how that feels to fight or want to fight or go to a point where you have no fight left in you to have someone to stay in your life. It is the most exhausting thing. And honestly, not worth it. But I think unfortunately, when I did that, I was her age. So I think like she had to get to a point where I can't keep doing that. That's not working for me. For her to realize never fight for someone who isn't fighting for you. Um, so back at the villa, we got the Havens. And what's interesting here is which side of the island is going to go into the haven first. And which side of the island doesn't even go in the first night? So Mikey is all happy even though he was crying 2 seconds ago. The three amigos, amigas are like, that shit is a coping mechanism, 100% it is. Jack is like, she says that she's happy without me. Fuck it, I'm gonna get a drink. Pff. Cheyenne says Jack is a fucking cheater. But you already knew that. Guys, this episode title, I didn't know it was titled Heated Rivalry. And I'm like, there is not a gay man in sight. There is no cottage. There's no love among any of these freaking people. So, heated rivalry, my ass. But okay, moving on. Kaylee is talking to Zach, and I think she tells him that I was in his room crying, like Summit's room crying, while he had friends there. And instead of being with her, making sure she's okay, or just checking on her periodically, he kind of stayed outside with his friends. And what I didn't catch here, but it definitely is brought up throughout, is she says that's kind of psychotic. Or that's kind of psychotic. I don't, to me, it sounds like to me she's saying that's psychotic behavior, but I think she really did call him psychopath. So, meanwhile, Summit is like, I have never talked down on her. Well, we don't know that. We only know based on what you're telling us, but like we really don't know that. Um, he said, I want to, or I didn't want to change her. And we're like, but wait, am I crazy? Because you literally told us at the bonfire, I think the last one, that you tried to quote unquote help her change. You wanted to get a bigger ass, so I helped her with it. You know what I mean? So Mikey is like, she played me. She was at the front row of my sister's wedding, sitting beside my mom. Only 2 weeks ago, she played me. That's his perception. I don't think she necessarily played him. Um, but I'm gonna leave it at that for now. So the Temptation Haven is being explained to the tempters how this works, and Cheyenne is going to make a scene. And that scene is taking Preston into the Temptation Haven, y'all. The first person to go into the Haven is Cheyenne to stick it to Jack. And as I said to you before, no one in the men's villa goes into the Temptation Haven that first night. It is not even explored. Real interesting. And not only that, you know what? I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna say it anymore. Not yet. So, meanwhile, at the men's villa, we see the flashing red lights and the noising and the woof, and the men are losing it, thinking like their girlfriend's in there. Like, I don't think for a second Submit thinks Kaylee's probably in there. And I don't even know if Cole thinks that Scarlett's in there. But you can definitely tell that Mikey's like, oh shit, is that Sydney going in there? But funny enough, Jack is like, that's definitely my girlfriend. I think definitely my girlfriend's in there. And someone's like, are you sure? You sure it's not Mikey's girlfriend? And he's like, I don't know. No, boy, you were right the first time. Um, Mikey, he's crying about, as I said. Meanwhile, back with Cheyenne, she's definitely guessing Preston, y'all. Definitely going there. Interestingly, like I said, none of the guys is going to the Haven that first night. But that's where we go. We see Submit and Julianne on a date. His way of doing things, going on a date with a different girl for each date to truly experience temptation. So remember, he went with Jasenia, and then he went with Julianne. He kind of sticks with Julianne for the rest of this time, though. Mikey goes on a date with Chriselle, who I don't think he ever goes on a date with again, but I think she's part of the amigas, whatever. They went fishing, fun. We have Scarlett on a date with Bradley. They're on a painting date. A painting your secret garden date, meaning what's in your paints. So they gotta paint their stuff. Her drawing is subtle, very ladylike. His goddamn eggplant to this point. Submit feels like he is sacrificing a lot to be with Kaylee, which is like, okay, if you feel like you're sacrificing a lot to be with the person that you're with, that's not a good sign. She should go and find that person who is perfect for her, because clearly it's not me. Now we see kind of like her. She has the insecurity and sense of I'm physically not his type or I'm physically not the one he wants. But then for him, it's like his insecurity is clearly I'm not enough for her. So like if I can't be enough for her, then maybe someone else could be enough for her. It's interesting. But of course, Julianne, not knowing all the details, says that she should not want to change it. But again, it's like, okay, but he's trying to change her. She's like, she should be so lucky to have you. You're a great guy. And I don't listen, I don't at this point, I didn't particularly like Summit. I'm still on the fence about Summit. Um, but I'm more leaning to I think he is a good guy. I think he's just a lost guy. Cheyenne and Preston are on a cave date. She likes his vibe, and that's that. Jack and Carter, of course, on a date. They're roasting marshmallows. Cute. Cole is on a date with Lexi. He feels comfortable to open up to her about his relationship. That's kind of his main thing. We have Kaylee and Chris on a date. Chris with a K. I think he's one of the guys that cooked or something. A spa night type of date. She says, she's an overthinker. She wants to let go and be happy because she doesn't think she's happy. And she's like, why can't I be more out there like Submit? You don't need to be like that. Be you. Um, but also don't let him dim your light and then don't also dim his. And then of course we have Sydney with Xavier because that's her boy. Something about body empowerment, whatever. And then Jack and Carter go into Temptation Haven. Now it's his turn. So if you've noticed, if Cheyenne went in there first, then we have Jack going in again. They're kissing, and it's flashing right over the women's villa. Thank gosh Cheyenne was sleeping, but of course, someone was going to tell her the next day that person was Sydney. They tell her, and, she's crying about it. But I'm like, girlfriend, you already went in there before he did. You already went in there. So why are you crying? The next day, Cole just starts crying because he's really hating it here. He feels like she doesn't have his back, but he has hers. And you know what? I do agree with him. I do. Listen, lying, not cool. But she's literally treating him as if he's like the worst guy there. And it's not even, that'd be so far from the truth. The women's villa is having a foam party. The guys decide to wear Speedos and stuff them because they ain't big enough. Great. So even though Jack has been about Carter, he all of a sudden is like, you know what? I want to change shit up a little bit. And he's all about just me all of a sudden. He don't give a fuck. And Cheyenne is right back into the temptation haven. So if we see what's going on here, we have a tit, tat, tit. And then we're gonna have a tat. Jack goes into the haven with Jessica this time. They kiss. She's like, you're so crazy. You were just in here the other, like, literally a few hours ago with another girl. And he tells her, I need you in my bed tonight. Ugh. And she says, you need to button up your pants. Ugh. The hell are you doing? And this is where I wrote this tit for tat now between the both of them is driving me nuts. But that's literally what they're doing. I kid you not, y'all. The only people who are going into the Temptation Haven is Cheyenne and Jack. They're literally going back and forth as if this is a tennis match. It is something. But anyways, that is it for episode 5, and that is it for this episode. We will be back with another one, but until then, that is it for now. If you liked what you heard, bear with me because I have not done an outro for the podcast in quite some time. So bear with me here. So if you liked what you heard, you can go to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can like, follow, make sure you don't miss a single episode. And you can also rate the podcast at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be greatly appreciated. As a reminder, any 5-star ratings that are given to the podcast or any comments that are given to the podcast will be read on the podcast, which I have done in the past. If you want to connect with the podcast through social media, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram at Reality T times 2. You can also find me at Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Reality times 2 pod. I believe you can email me at realityt times 2 at hotmail.com, and you can have any inquiries, anything like that, any ideas, any shows or episodes you want me to cover, you can definitely do that over there. And I am going back to our old website, and that is at solo.to/realityt times 2. There you can get any of the links to anything that I didn't mention here, any of the socials, website, email, all of that. It's all there for you. And we also have a new thing there where you can help support the podcast as well. It's called a tip jar. And you could tip whatever your heart's desire if you want to support the podcast, but don't want to necessarily support the podcast in going to Patreon, for example, or any of the links in any of the advertisements. You can do it there. But since we're on the topic of Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality times 2, where there you can get access to even more than what I do here. There are 3 different tiers where you can get these shows ad free, as well as our next tier up where you would get another reality show that's being covered. So, we have Jersey Shore that's been getting covered. That's still being covered currently at the time of recording of this outro, but the future is bright with what's to come in the future, which I will be discussing, or I have discussed. I don't even know. And then also our next tier is a true crime tier as well. So you can definitely head over for that. But that is basically it. I will also just quickly mention here too, if you're interested in a different take of a podcast that I'm a part of, we do things a little differently, you can head on over to Next Take Podcast, where I usually drop bonus episodes here on this feed, but there you get a lot more. And that podcast is making changes. We're growing, doing new things, but you can definitely head on over there if you want to just hear a little bit different than what I do over here. So you can find that podcast over at our website, solo.to/next take podcast. And there we'll have all the links to your desire that will link you to any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Social medias, it's all over there. But of course, you can still find that podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. But that is it for this episode. We'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everybody.